Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. A very talented young fighter has his kung fu put to the test when he is sent by his father to train with the greatest master of all time. Today we will recap the story of the 1978 movie Drunken Master. When Thunderleg, a hired killer, arrives at his hideout in the woods, he finds a new job offer. The man will be paid $500 to eliminate Charlie Wei. Charlie is training his kung fu when the assassin shows up. Although he is a great fighter, the man has heard about the Devil's Kick, a technique that Thunderleg developed and had never been defeated. Upon discovering that that man was sent to kill him, Charlie offers twice as much for Thunderleg to let him live and eliminate the mastermind of the crime. However, the man claims that his honor is at stake, for he had already sealed the contract and received the payment. Therefore, Charlie's only option is to face his enemy. The battle ensues and they exchange some choreographed blows. Thunderleg lands several kicks on his target. Charlie tries to defend himself, but in a few seconds he is defeated by the Devil's Kick. At the Wong Academy, Robert, the owner of that place, asks teacher Kai to finish training with the students. Kai interrupts them and says that he will give his first class on the 5 animal styles. While correcting the students' posture, Freddie Wong takes the opportunity to make fun of his teacher. When he realizes what is happening, the teacher goes to have a word with the young man. At this time, Freddie is dismissive of his teacher's kung fu and points out where he needs to improve. After being tripped, Kai challenges the young man to a duel. The man uses all 5 animal styles to try to take the man down, but Freddie does better in all of them. At the end of the battle, the professor must admit defeat. After training, while some students are having lunch together, a young woman passes by them and Freddie's best friend is extremely attracted to her. Since he loves to take advantage of everything, Freddie stands up and assures him that he will be able to win her attention. The man spots some snakes that were being sold at the fair and comes up with a plan. First, he approaches the woman, saying that there is a speck in his eye and asks her to blow. Then the man shows her that there is a snake crawling between her legs, and the young woman throws herself on his lap in an attempt to get rid of the animal. At that moment, the woman's mother appears and slaps Freddie in the face for trying to take advantage of her daughter. However, the man claims that it was the young woman who threw herself into his arms, and the woman goes off on him. Freddie attacks her back, but to his surprise, he ends up being beaten by the old woman, who is a master in kung fu. However, the man refuses to admit defeat and claims that the old woman only won the fight because he allowed her to. While walking through that place with a cage in his hand, Jerry Lee receives a proposal from a market vendor. The man offers him an ancient jade stone for $10. Instead, Jerry gives him 10 cents and takes the stone away. When the market vendor goes to complain about the amount, the man takes his money back and breaks the stone. Desperate, the man asks Jerry to give him money to pay for the damage he has caused. However, the young man refuses to pay the old man and punches him in the face. Seeing the poor man being beaten, Freddie decides to interfere in the fight and orders Jerry to pay what he owes. However, the man says that he will only give the money to the market vendor if Freddie manages to defeat him. The duel begins, and Freddie quickly manages to knock out his opponent. Jerry gets up and refuses to give up the fight, but he knows he is not strong enough to face the man empty-handed, so he gets a sword to attack him. Freddie manages to dodge the blows, but when he ducks, he has part of his hair cut off. Now he realizes that his life may be at stake. Startled, the man grabs some vegetables to fight back. During the fight, he takes all the money from Jerry's pockets and hands it to the market vendor. He then snatches the sword from his hands and attacks him with his blunt side. The man is frightened, as he could be killed at any moment, but Freddie has no intention of taking his life. Instead, he decides to play a little with his opponent and test his skills. After knocking Jerry into a table of vegetables, Freddie begins to slice him up, and when his opponent is already badly hurt, he leaves. Freddie sneaks home, but his father hears the noise at the door and calls the man to go see his aunt Gam Fa, who had been away for 10 years. Afraid of being recognized by the woman, Freddie tries to hide his face and says he has a stiff neck. When Gam gets up to help him, she recognizes him immediately. The woman then tells the old man that when she arrived in town, her daughter was attacked by a pervert who wanted to take advantage of her. Upon hearing this, Robert claims that when he finds him, he will rip his head off. At this moment, the young woman claims that the guy who attacked her is Freddie and the old man gets angry. After punching his son, he orders the man to his knees and threatens to beat him up. However, they are interrupted by the arrival of Mr. Lee, who is there to take revenge on Freddie for hurting his son. Furious at hearing so many complaints about the man, Robert takes a wooden stick to stab him, but is stopped by Graham, who states that the man cannot do this to his own son. The woman then suggests that Mr. Lee do the job, since he went there for revenge. so the old man chooses one of his men to punish Freddy and decrees that he may beat the young man 10 times as punishment. Before the fight begins, Jerry orders his subordinate to leave the man as bruised as he is. The man doesn't even wait for Freddy to take off his coat before giving him a good beating. However, the man stands up and begins to block the attacks. He is determined not to attack his opponent, as he understands that this was his punishment. After a few seconds of fighting, Graham orders them to stop fighting, as the subordinate had already beaten the man more than 10 times. However, the man does not respect the rules and continues to attack Freddy. This time, the man is allowed to strike back and uses the heron style to knock him down. After landing dozens of blows on his enemy, Freddy goes to Jerry and pulls the guy into the fight, even though he is all bandaged up. When Mr. Lee's fighter tries to hit him, the man lifts the stretcher, causing Jerry to receive the punch. In order to end that duel soon, Freddy hits his opponent several blows in a row in the face, and now the man is almost in the same situation as Jerry. Seeing this, Lee declares his defeat and calls his men to leave. Now both his son and his best fighter need to be carried out of that place. At this point, Robert admits that his son fights very well, but he still needs to punish him for what he has done. From that day on, he would undergo intense training, and the first of these is to stay 5 hours uninterrupted in the horse position. Professor Kai is responsible for watching the man, and for every cup that Freddy dropped on the floor, he would stay in that position for another hour. In an attempt to disrupt the young man, Kai uses the feather of a duster to tickle him. Just as the man walks away, his friend appears and takes a wooden stool to help Freddy. When Robert appears, he immediately realizes the cheating, and in that instant decides to use his last resort. To teach Freddy to be an honorable man and become a worthy fighter, Robert says he will send him to be trained by his uncle. While that day does not come, the man must continue his exhausting training routine. This time, Freddy has to balance on 2 chairs, with his hands tied back, while holding a vase that is tied around his neck. At this instant, his friend appears again and brings him food, as he was already starving after being in that position for hours. After untying him, the man tells him that he has heard that Freddy will be trained by Beggar So and wishes his friend good luck. The young man also says that he met a guy who was a student of this old man and, at the end of a year, was completely devastated. Besides losing all his teeth and every strand of hair, his nose was totally dented and he became unrecognizable. Upon hearing this, Freddy is very frightened and comes up with an escape plan. However, before he leaves, he decides to stop at a restaurant for dinner. Since he has no money to pay for food, the man sits down at a lonely old man's table, hoping that he will pay the bill. After ordering practically every item on the menu, the gentleman is surprised at how much food that young man is able to eat. After dinner, Freddy says that he needs to go to an appointment, but assures him that he will pay for everything on his way out. However, when he is approached by one of the waiters, who shows up to charge him for the meals, the man says that the old man is his father and he will pay for all the food. However, Freddy was unlucky, because that old man was the owner of the restaurant and that guy who was talking to him is his son. After being unmasked, the young man claims that he forgot the money. He promises he will go get it and come back to pay for his dinner, but the restaurant security guard shows up to stop the young man from leaving. Gorilla, as he is known, grabs Freddy and throws him over the table. He then asks the waiters to attack him. The man dodges all blows, until he slips and falls to the ground. At this point, Gorilla jumps on top of him and holds him down while the waiters beat the guy up. Seeing the man being beaten, an old man who was in the restaurant decides to intervene. He throws a pot of hot water into the gorilla's arms and doesn't even get up to fight the waiters. The old man uses a hot towel to whip those cowards, and Freddy takes the opportunity to eat some buns while watching the fight. The owner of the restaurant tries to stop him from continuing to steal his food, but the man attacks him. With only a towel, the old man manages to take down half a dozen men by himself. Before he leaves, he calls Freddy to run away together. They hide in the forest to catch their breath after the battle. While they are talking, the young man discovers that he has just been saved by So, his great-uncle. At this point, Freddy runs in desperation, for he knows that the old man is there to train him, at his father's request. Just when he thinks he is safe, So shows up and manages to capture him. The old man tells him that Robert has paid him well to train his son, and that is exactly what he intends to do. Freddy will spend 12 months training with his new master, and just the idea of spending a year with that old man is enough to make him desperate. The young man tries to fight for his freedom, but ends up getting beaten up by the old man, who still takes a break for drinking wine during the fight. Freddy tests every fighting style he knows in an attempt to defeat his opponent, but this, without a doubt, was the strongest opponent he had ever faced in his life. Ultimately, So traps the man's head between his legs, and Freddy has no choice but to admit defeat. Although he does not agree with the methods of his new teacher, the young man decides to follow the rules and ends up being injured throughout the training. During the night, while Sensei is sleeping, Freddy gets up, opens the door and tries to escape. He then discovers that So has tied a rope around his thumb and pulls him back. The young man says that he just needs to go outside to use the bathroom, but the old man orders him to do his needs right there. After freeing himself from the rope, the man pretends to lower his pants and runs again for the exit, but So closes the door and holds his apprentice's head out. The next morning, the training continues, and this time Freddy must spend several hours filling some barrels with water. The man is constantly taking water from one barrel and moving it to another, until he can come up with a new plan to escape. While So is drinking his wine, the man throws himself into one of the barrels and pretends to be drowning. When the old man approaches to help him, Freddy pulls him inside and closes the container. He then places a large stone on top to prevent his teacher from getting out. In this way, the man gets a few minutes head start to escape. When he arrives at his hiding place, Thunderleg finds Freddy drying his clothes and orders him to leave. However, the man does not want to leave without first drying his clothes, and the killer decides to attack him to teach him a lesson. While trying to dodge the attacks, Freddy falls into the fire and burns his buttocks. Furious, the man goes after Thunderleg, not even having a clue who this guy is. The man attacks Freddy as if he were a rag doll and the man has no chance to defend himself. The more he tries to fight back, the more punches and kicks the young man receives. Ultimately, Thunderleg claims that Freddy is so weak that he is not even worth killing. To do so would only tarnish his name. The man still says that even if the man trains for 20 years, he will never be able to defeat him. Totally humiliated, the man leaves and decides to return to Mr. So's camp. From that day on, he is determined to become a master in Kung Fu. When he arrives at the tent, the young man asks forgiveness for what he has done and offers to dry his sensei's clothes. The old man is upset with Freddy for what he had done, but decides to give the man a second chance. In the days following that episode, the two intensify their training even more, and So teaches his pupil new Kung Fu styles and moves. In order to strengthen the muscles in his abdomen, the old man suggests that Freddy use 2 cups to fill a large bucket while hanging by his legs upside down. Like a good trickster, the man takes advantage of his teacher's sleep to take a shortcut, but the man discovers the whole scheme and asks the man to empty the entire bucket, only now with even smaller cups. After several hours of intense training, the duo decides to go for a ride and ends up in a clandestine gambling game. The goal is to find out in which of the 3 cups the coin is hidden, and So is winning every round. Seeing that his partner is in trouble, Iron Head decides to regain control of the game to try to recover the money they have lost. The man shuffles the cups at great speed and no one can keep up with his movements, except So. The old man then indicates the place where he believes the coin is hidden, and Iron Head raises the cup. At this point, Freddy is surprised, believing that his master has lost the bet, but the old man grabs the cheat's arm and shows him that he had stolen the coin the moment he lifted the cup. At this point, the bald man signals to his partner who begins to shout announcing that the police are approaching. Everyone runs for cover and Iron Head steals the money. As he flees, So manages to capture him and Freddy orders that thief to return the money. At this point, the man reveals his identity and breaks a piece of wood on his head to prove that he has a powerful skull. They begin to fight, and after taking a few headbutts, Freddy goes to his sensei for help. However, the old man advises him not to give up and helps the man dodge that skull. While fighting, the young man comes across a table that is littered with clothes and uses a pant to cover his opponent's view. When Iron Head gets rid of the pants, he starts on Freddy, again, and the man uses a hammer to defend himself. Now they can fight on equal terms, iron against iron. After being hit by dozens of hammer blows, the bald man surrenders and the man manages to get So's money back. In the following days, Freddy continues with his intense training routine and now he needs to strengthen his wrists before advancing to the next stage. While watching his apprentice, the old man begins to tremble and orders the man to fetch more wine for him. However, instead of doing as his teacher asked, Freddy decides to spend all the money on food and buys a small amount of wine to take to his master. Before returning to the camp, the young man fills the bottle with water. Impatient, So cannot stop shaking and needs to drink wine to calm down. However, Freddy has not arrived yet. Instead of the man, 2 men appear outside, and one of them is Iron Head, who had been beaten badly. The second man is the Bamboo King and is there to avenge his friend. The man attacks So and the old man dodges his blows. However, due to alcohol withdrawal, the professor is not able to fight as well as usual and ends up taking a few hits. Just then, Freddy appears and the old man asks him to pour the wine. After drinking it, So realizes that the liquid is water and is about to be hit, but his disciple jumps in front of him to protect him. They fight together against the Bamboo King, but are still no match for him. The only way out is to hide inside the tent, and when the man tries to enter, his neck is crushed. After the distraction, Freddy and his master escape through the window and the invading duo decide to leave. During dinner, the man regrets having spent the money his master gave him to buy food and not wine as he had requested. Freddy also regrets not being able to beat the bamboo guy and claims that his training is not being effective. At this point, So reveals that he has a secret fighting style, which he calls the secret of the drunken gods. After drinking the wine that he himself went to buy after that incident, the old man gives a demonstration and proves that, even drunk, it is possible to fight masterfully. However, the reason he has not yet taught this technique to Freddy is that first the man needs to know the importance of the fundamentals, otherwise all the work would be a waste of time. Now that this stage has been completed, So invites the man to drink in order to learn his fighting style. When Freddy is already quite drunk, the old man decides it is time to begin his training. The first style the young man learns is that of God Lu, the drunkard with inner strength. Next, they move on to God Li, the disabled drunkard with strength in his right leg. And so the training continues, until they arrive at Goddess Hao, the goddess who displays the beautiful body. When he reaches that style, Freddy stops taking his training seriously. Although So says that the Hao goddess is very strong, the man refuses to learn her fighting style because he claims that it is for women. Meanwhile, at his father's house, Mr. Li pays him a visit and offers 20% of his company's profits if Robert agrees to sell part of the land in that town to him. The man knows that Li wants the land for coal mining, and even though he has the possibility of making a lot of money in his hands, Robert is a man of integrity and says that those lands will continue to belong to his people. However, before he leaves, Li assures him that he will manage to take possession of that place one way or another. When Thunderleg returns to his hideout in the forest, he finds an offer of $1,000 to eliminate Robert Wong and intends to accomplish his mission as quickly as possible. Weeks go by and, while walking through the city, Freddy comes across the bamboo guy again. This is an excellent opportunity to test his new skills, and the man challenges him to a duel. During the fight, Freddy drinks a few glasses of wine, and minutes later the effect of the drink finally shows. The young man uses a wooden stool to block the attacks of the bamboo freak, and then pushes his opponent's face into the manure. The man gets up and the duel continues. Freddy steals the bamboo from his opponent and uses his own weapon to attack him. As the effect of the alcohol is wearing off, Freddy needs to drink more wine to continue the fight. Now he faces his enemy with a jug in his hand and must do some acrobatics in order not to break it. After drinking all the wine, the man starts his drunken kung fu technique, and the bamboo king decides to attack him while he is dizzy. However, Freddy is even more powerful and takes down his opponent once and for all. Before leaving, he steals 2 jugs of wine and intends to take them to his master. However, when he arrives at the camp, the man finds a letter left by the old man. In it, So informs him that a year has passed and he has already fulfilled his mission. Now, he must leave, but asks that Freddy not stop practicing the techniques of the 8 drunken gods until he masters them. Finally, the sensei asks the man to return to his father's house and honor his family. At the Wong Academy, while Robert trains one of his students, his subordinate shows up saying that he saw Mr. Li and his men digging a hole in the city. Upon hearing this, Robert asks his employee to take him to them immediately. However, when they arrive at the supposed location, the man disappears and Thunderleg attacks Robert. The killer states that it will be an honor to challenge an opponent on his level. As they fight, the psychopath manages to take the old man down easily, but Mr. Wong does not intend to surrender. The battle continues until Freddy and one of the academy students appear. The man throws a jug of wine at Thunderleg, who destroys the object with a kick. The man is surprised to discover that he will have to face, again, the guy who beat him months ago. But if he wants to save his father's life, he has no other choice, and just as the fight is about to begin, So shows up to watch the show. The old man hands his pupil a jar of wine and asks him to drink it. Thunderleg then attacks the man, who dodges his attacks and continues drinking. When he comes out of his sober state, and incorporates Rock Lee's style, Freddy is ready for battle and uses the 8 drunken gods technique to destroy that killer. Thunderleg doesn't understand what is happening. After all, months ago that man was just a wimp. But he still manages to turn the game and blocks all of Freddy's attacks. Now the young man is losing the fight once again, and So guides him to use the Hao goddess technique. However, the man had not trained in the goddess style, and his master orders Freddy to combine the techniques of the 7 gods, so she will appear at the end. By following his teacher's directions, the young man incorporates all styles at once and thus succeeds in defeating Thunderleg, saving his father's life. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.